Hey guys, so today we are going to be listening to slash watching Act 3, Scene 1 and 2. So this is the scene where Caesar, well, I guess this is the scene where Caesar actually gets assassinated. So we're gonna see how that plays out.
A trumpet plays. Caesar, Brutus, Cassius, Casca, Decius, Metellus, Trebonius, Cinna, Antony, Lepidus, Populus, Publius, and others.
March 15th has come.
Caesar, but not gone.
Hail Caesar, read the schedule.
Trebonius wants you to look over his humble petition at your leisure.
Oh, Caesar, read mine first, for my petition affects you more directly. Read it, great Caesar.
Whatever pertains to myself, I will deal with last.
Stand aside, you. What are you pressing your petition on the street? Go to the Capitol.
Set a stage direction. Goes up to the Senate House. The rest follow.
Yeah, Publius next.
I hope your endeavor goes well today.
What endeavor, Populus?
Good luck.
Populus? Sorry.
What did Populus Lena say?
Speaking so that only Brutus can hear, he wished that our endeavor would go well today. Afraid we've been found out.
Look, he's approaching Caesar. Keep an eye on him.
Casca, be quick, because we're worried we might be stuck with Brutus. What will we do? If the secret's known, either Caesar or I will die, or I'll kill myself.
Cassius, stand firm. Populus Lena wasn't talking about our plot. For look, he's smiling, and Caesar's expression is the same.
Trebonius knows his cue. See, Brutus, he's pulling marking. Trebonius and Antony exit. Thea?
Where's Metellus Cimber? He should go up and offer his petition to Caesar now.
They're speaking to him. Go up there and second his petition.
Patrick?
Sorry. Casca, you'll be the first to raise your hand.
Are we all ready? What problem should I discuss with you first?
Most high, most mighty, and most powerful Caesar, Metellus Cimber kneels before you with a humble heart.
I have to stop you, Cimber. These kneelings and humble courtesies might excite ordinary men, flattering them into Roman law into children's games. But don't be so foolish as to think you can sway me from what's right by using the tactics that persuade fools. I mean, this flattery, low bows, and puppy-like fawning. Your brother has been banished by decree. If you kneel and beg and flatter for him, I'll kick you out of my way like I would a dog. Know that I am not unjust, and I will not grant him a pardon without treason.
Okay, so in this scene right here, this part of the scene, we kind of find out more of the reason why they want to assassinate Caesar. This obviously isn't the whole reason, but part of the reason is that Caesar has let the power go to his head, and he started banishing people. One of the people that he banishes is Metellus Cimber's brother. And so Metellus Cimber is actually part of the Senate. So to banish his brother is a great dishonor to their family. And so he comes to ask very humbly of Caesar to change his mind about the banishment. But we see in this moment right here that Caesar is very, very egotistical. He's almost tyrant-like. He's very mean, even though this guy is, kneeling in front of him and humiliating himself in a lot of ways. And not only does he say no to his his request. He basically says that he would kick him out of his way like a dog. So he's not only telling him no, but he's chastising him and belittling him for even thinking about asking him, which shows that Caesar is not a very merciful leader.
Is there no voice worthier than my own to appeal to Caesar, to repeal the order that my brother be banished?
Kneeling.
Brutus?
Sorry, I was muted and read the whole thing. I kiss your hand, but not in flattery, Caesar. I ask you to repel Publius Cimber's banishment immediately.
What? Even you, Brutus?
Kneeling. Pardon him, Caesar, pardon him. I fall to your feet to beg you to restore Publius Cimber to citizenship.
I could be convinced if I were like you. If I could beg others to change their minds, begging would convince me too. But immovable as the northern star, whose stable and spatiality has no equal in the sky. The sky shows countless stars. They're all made of fire, and each one shines. But only one among all of them remains in a fixed position. So it is on earth. The world is full of men, and men are flesh and blood, and they are capable of reason. Yet out of all of them, I know only one who is unassailable, who moves from his position. To show you that that's me, let me prove it in a little even in this case. I was firm in ordering that Cimber be banished, and I remain firm in that decision.
Okay, so this whole little scene right here, Caesar says that he's immovable as the northern star. And he then goes on to talk about, like, would you move mountains and all this stuff. So he's comparing himself to these almighty things like mountains and stars. And, he's almost saying that he's godlike in a way. What we also see in this moment is that several people have come to ask him to remove the banishment of Metellus Cimber's brother. So this shows even further that he is just an egotistical tyrant.
Old Caesar.
Enough. Would you try to lift Mount Olympus?
Great Caesar.
Haven't I resisted even Brutus, begging from his knees?
Hands speak for me.
And you too, Brutus. In that case, die, Caesar.
Liberty, freedom, tyranny is dead. Run and proclaim it in the streets.
Some should go to the public platforms and cry out liberty, freedom, and democracy. The people and senators.
Okay, so really quick, I just want to kind of explain what happens. So the people reading didn't give me enough time to read the actual stage directions for this play, for this part. And so the stage directions say, after Cinna says, "Oh, Caesar," and he says, "Enough. Would you try to lift Mount Olympus?" And Decius says, "Great, Caesar." And Caesar says, "Haven't I resisted even Brutus begging from his knees?" And Casca says, "Hands, speak for me." And then it says, Casca and the other conspirators stab Caesar. Brutus stabs him last. And so Caesar says, "And you too, Brutus?" Or he says, "Et tu, Brute?" Then in that case, die, Caesar. And he dies. So Brutus stabbing him is what ultimately kills him, because it not only it was the last stab, but it also breaks, his heart to see that Brutus, his friend, his confidant, possibly his illegitimate son, kills him. So, and then they all say, "Liberty, freedom, tyranny is dead. Run and proclaim it in the streets." So everybody in the actual Senate crowd, other than the people who have actually stabbed Caesar, are so confused, and they're running, they're scared. And so that's what's just happened, is they have actually just killed Caesar.
Yay!
People and senators, don't be afraid. Don't run away. Stay where you are. Only Caesar had to die for his ambition.
Go to the platform, Brutus.
And Cassius too.
Where's Publius?
Here, he's completely stunned by this mutiny.
Stand close together in case someone loyal to Caesar tries to.
Don't talk about standing together. Publius, cheer up. We don't intend any harm to you, nor to anyone else. Tell them this, Publius.
And leave us, Publius, in case the people storming us should harm you.
Do so, and let no one suffer from this deed except us, the proprietors.
Publius exit, Trebonius enters. Where's Antony?
He ran to his house, stunned. Wives and children stare, cry out, and run in the streets as though it were doomsday.
We'll soon find out what fate has in store for us. All we know is that we'll die sometime, which is all anyone ever knows, though we try to draw out our days for as long as possible.
Why? The man who shortens his life by 20 years cuts off 20 years of worrying about death.
So, then, death is a gift, and we are Caesar's friends, for we've done him a service by shortening his time spent fearing death. Kneel, Romans, kneel, and let's wash our hands, up to the elbows in Caesar's blood and smeared on our swords. Then we'll go out, even to the marketplace, and waving our bloody swords over our heads, let's cry, peace, freedom, and liberty.
All right, so in this moment right here, they're discussing death, and we can really see that neither Cassius nor Brutus are scared of death. In fact, Brutus goes as far as to say that death is a gift, and he still really truly believes that this was the best thing for both Caesar and for Rome itself. And we see that when he says that we've done him a service by shortening his time spent fearing death. So he really does think that he did a good thing. Then he tells them to wash their hands in the blood and to put it on their swords. And the reason he tells them to do this is so that all of them are to blame for killing Caesar, so that no one person can be blamed for stabbing him. They all have to take the blame if anyone, is put to death for this atrocity, for this mutiny.
Kneel then and wash. The conspirators smear their hands and swords with Caesar's blood. How many years from now will this heroic scene be reenacted in countries that don't even exist yet and in languages not yet known?
How many times will Caesar bleed again and show, though he now lies at the base of Pompey's statue, as worthless as dust?
Okay, this part right here is just a little bit of irony. In fact, it's dramatic irony. So Shakespeare is actually creating a little bit of dramatic irony right here because he's writing a play about Caesar's death. And so Caesar's death is actually been talked about and reenacted time and time again. And even in writing this play, he has carried on this death.
Often, as it's replayed, our group will be hailed as the men who gave their country liberty. Brutus will lead, and we'll follow him with the boldest and best of hearts of Rome. Antony's servant enters.
Wait a minute. Who's that coming? It's a friend of Antony's.
Kneeling.
Brutus, my master ordered me to kneel like this.
He kneels, head bowed low.
He ordered me to kneel low and from the ground like this. He ordered me to say, Brutus is noble, wise, brave, and honest. Caesar was mighty, bold, royal, and loving. Antony loves Brutus and honors him. Antony feared Caesar, honored him, and loved him. If Brutus will swear that Antony may come to him safely and be convinced that Caesar deserved to be killed, Mark Antony will love dead Caesar not nearly as much as living Brutus, and with true faith he'll follow the destiny and affairs of noble Brutus through the difficulties of this unprecedented state of affairs.
Okay, so Antony sends his servant to basically, tell Brutus, like, hey, I have no harm. I'm not going to try to seek revenge. I just want to figure out what's going on. And if you promise not to harm me the way that you have harmed Caesar, I will support your decision. I just want to know what the heck happened.
That's why my master, Antony, says,
Your master is a wise and honorable Roman. I never thought any less of him. Tell him. He comes here, I'll explain everything to him, and on my word, he'll leave unharmed.
I'll get him now.
Antony's servant exits.
I know that he'll be on our side, but here comes Antony. Welcome, Mark Antony.
Oh, mighty Caesar, do you lie so low? Have all your conquests, glories, triumphs, achievements come to so little? Farewell, gentlemen. I don't know what you intend to do, who else you intend to kill, who else you consider corrupt. If it's me, there's no time as good as this hour of Caesar's death, and no weapon better than your swords, covered with the most noblest blood in the world. I ask you, if you have a grudge against me, to kill me now, while your stained hands still reek of blood. I could live 1,000 years, and I wouldn't be as ready to die as I am now. There's no place I'd rather die than here by Caesar, and no manner of death would please me more than being stabbed by you, the masters of this new era.
Oh, Antony, don't beg us to kill you. Though we seem bloody and cruel right now with our bloody hands and this deed we've done, you've only seen our hands and their bloody business. You haven't looked into our hearts. They are full of pity for Caesar, but a stronger pity for the wrongs committed against Rome. Drove out our pity for Caesar, as fire drives out fire. And so, we killed him. For you, our swords have blunt edges, too dull to harm you, Mark Antony. Our arms, which can be strong and cruel in our hearts, filled with brotherly love, embrace you with kind love, good thoughts, and reverence.
Your vote will be as strong as anyone's in the reordering of the government.
But just be patient until we calm the masses, who are beside themselves with fear. Then we'll explain to you why I, who love Caesar, even while I stabbed him, have taken this course of action.
I don't doubt your wisdom. Each of you, give me your bloody hand. First, Marcus Brutus, I shake your hand. Next, Caius Cassius, I take your hand. Now, Decius Brutus, yours. Now yours, Metellus. Yours, Cinna. And yours, my brave Casca. Last but not least, yours, good Trebonius. You're all gentlemen. Alas, what can I say? Now that I've shaken your hand, you'll take me for either a coward or a flatterer. In either case, my credibility stands on slippery ground. It's true that I loved you, Caesar. Nothing could be truer. If your spirit is looking down upon us now, it must hurt you more than even your death to see your Antony making peace, shaking the bloody hands of your enemies in front of your corpse. If I had as many eyes as you have wounds, and they wept as fast as your wounds stream blood, even that would be more becoming than joining your enemies in friendship. Forgive me, Julius. On this very spot you were hunted down like a brave deer, and here you fell, where your hunters are now standing. The spot is marked by your death and stained by your blood. Oh, world. You were the forest to this deer, and this deer, oh world, was your deer. Now you lie here, stabbed, many princes.
Okay, so as you can see, Antony is a wonderful speaker, and Shaw Thompson acts in a lot of Florence Little Theater plays, and he is actually absolutely fabulous for this part. But what Antony does in this scene is he shakes the hands of all of the conspirators, basically showing them that he accepts them, he accepts their decision, that he has no ill will for them. But then we see him having a conversation with the dead Caesar, saying that, to asking for his forgiveness for shaking their hands. And we kind of see that although he shook their hands and said, it's okay, we're good, everything's fine, he's not fine with what they have done. He loves Caesar, and we can kind of tell that he might seek revenge against the conspirators for this mutiny that they have, the assassination of Caesar.
Mark Antony.
Pardon me, Caius Cassius. Even Caesar's enemies would say the same. From a friend, it's a cool assessment, no more than that.
I don't blame you for praising Caesar like this, but what agreement do you intend to reach with us? Will you be counted as our friend, or should we proceed without depending on you?
I took your hands in friendship, but indeed I was distracted when I looked down at Caesar. I am friends with you all and love you all on one condition, that you prove to me that Caesar was dangerous.
Without that proof, this would have our reasons are so well considered that even if you, Antony, Caesar's son, you would be satisfied with them.
That's all I ask, and that you let me carry his body to the marketplace and, as a friend ought to do, stand on the platform and give him a proper funeral oration.
You may, Mark Antony.
Brutus, may I have a word with you? Speaking so that only Brutus can hear. You don't know what you're doing. Don't let Antony speak at his funeral. Don't you know how much the people could be affected by what he says? Speaking so that only Cassius can hear.
With your permission, I'll stand on the platform first and explain the reason for Caesar's death. What Antony says, I'll announce. He says only by our permission and by our conviction that Caesar should be honored with all the usual and lawful ceremonies. It'll help us more than hurt us.
Speaking so that only Brutus can hear. I'm worried about the outcome of his speech. I don't like this plan.
Mark Antony, take Caesar's body. You will not blame us in your funeral speech, but will say all the good you want to about Caesar, and that you do by our permission. Otherwise, you'll have no role at all in this funeral, and you'll speak on the same platform as I do done.
Okay, so Mark Antony's conditions are that, first of all, that they explain to him why they've done what they've done, and that he be able to speak at Caesar's funeral. And Brutus agrees against Cassius's better judgment and says, okay, you can speak at his funeral, but only after I speak, and you cannot blame us in your funeral speech. All you can do is talk good about Caesar just like you would in any other funeral, and that's it. And Antony is ultimately going to agree to this. While Cassius completely disagrees with this. He doesn't believe it's a good idea. He thinks this is going to end badly, and so on and so forth.
So be it. I don't want anything more.
Prepare the body, then.
Everyone except Antony exits.
Oh, pardon me, you bleeding corpse. For speaking politely and acting mildly with these butchers. You are what's left of the noblest man that ever lived. Pity the hand that shed his valuable blood. Over your wounds, which like speechless mouths open their red lips as though to beg me to speak, I predict that a curse will fall upon the bodies of men. Fierce civil predate war will paralyze all of Italy. Blood and destruction will be so common and familiar that mothers will merely smile when their infants are cut to pieces by the hands of war. People's capacity for sympathy will grow tired and weak from the sheer quantity of cruel deeds. And Caesar's ghost, searching for revenge with the goddess Ate by his side, just up from hell, will cry in the voice of a king, havoc, and unleash the dogs of war. This foul deed will stink up to the sky with men's corpses, which will beg to be buried.
Okay, so in this soliloquy that Antony gives, he basically says that he is going to seek revenge for what these men have done to Caesar, and he is going to make them pay. And we can kind of tell by his speech when he says fierce civil war will paralyze all of Italy. We can kind of see right here that he is going to, in his speech, try to turn the people against the conspirators and start a war to punish them for what they've done to Caesar.
Octavius' servant enters. You serve Octavius Caesar, right?
I do, Mark Antony.
Caesar wrote for him to come to Rome. Your heart is big.
Okay, Octavius's servant. Octavius Caesar is Caesar's nephew. So because Caesar didn't actually have a child, the throne falls to his nephew. Okay, so the position of power then goes to his nephew. Even though he's not king, he's still going to be given the power in Rome. And so Mark Antony is telling his servant to go get him and tell him that he needs to come to Rome.
And weep. Grief seems to be contagious, for my eyes, seeing the tears in your eyes, began to fill. Is your master coming?
He rests tonight within 21 miles of Rome.
Report back to him fast, and tell him what has happened. This is now a Rome in mourning, a dangerous Rome. It's not safe enough for Octavius yet. Hurry away and tell him so. No, wait, stay a minute. Don't go back until I've carried the corpse into the marketplace. There I'll use my speech to test what the people think of these bloody men's cruel action. You'll report back to young Octavius how they respond. Help me here.
They exit with Caesar's body.
Okay, so what's happening is Antony wants his servant to wait until it's safe for Octavius to come to Rome, because he's worried that if Octavius were to come to Rome now, that the conspirators would try to kill him as well. Because he does there again, he doesn't understand why they've actually killed Caesar. So he doesn't want to put Octavius in harm's way. And he also wants to see how the people are going to respond after they hear that Caesar has been killed.
Great job, guys.
Hey!
All right, now we're going to move to Act 2, Scene 2.
Right.
No, Act 3, Scene 2, sorry.
Scene 2. Brutus and Cassius enter with a throng of plebeians.
We want answers. Give us answers.
Then follow me and listen to my speech, friends. Cassius, go to the next street and drive the crowd, or divide the crowd. Let those who will hear me speak stay. Lead those away who will follow you, and will explain publicly the reasons for Caesar's death.
I'll listen to Brutus. I'll listen to Cassius, and we'll compare their reasons.
Cassius exits with some of the plebeians. Brutus gets up on the platform.
Quiet. Noble Brutus has mounted the platform.
Be patient until I finish. Romans, countrymen, and friends, listen to my reasons and be silent so you can hear. Believe me on my honor and keep my honor in mind, so you may believe me. Be wise when you criticize me, and keep your minds alert so you can judge me fairly. If there's anyone in this assembly, any dear friend of Caesar's, I say to him that my love for Caesar was no less than his. If, then, that friend demands to know why I rose up against Caesar, this is my answer. It is not that I love Caesar less, but that I love Rome more. Would you rather that Caesar were living and we would all go to our graves as slaves, or that Caesar were dead and we all lived as free men? I weep for Caesar in that he was good to me. I rejoice in his good fortune. I honor him for being brave, but his ambition, for that I killed him. There are tears for his love, joy for his torture or fortune, honor for his bravery, and death for his ambition. Who here is so low that he wants to be a slave? If there are any, speak, for it is he whom I've offended. Who here is so barbarous that he doesn't want to be a Roman? If there are any, speak, for it is he whom I've offended. Who here is so vile that he doesn't love his country? If there are any, speak, for it is he whom I've offended. I will pause for a reply. No.
Okay, so Brutus says in this speech of his, he starts off and he says, Romans, countrymen, and friends. Okay, so he's already starting out by addressing the people as friends. So he's trying to get on their good side. And then he says that he wants them to listen before they speak. And that he wants to remember that he's honorable. And he wants them to remember his good character and, his upstanding citizenness in society and all of this. So he reminds them that he's honorable. Then he reminds them that he loved Caesar and that Caesar was his friend. But he says that even though Caesar was his friend, that he had to kill him because of his ambition. But before he says that he had to kill him for his ambition, he says, would you rather that Caesar were living and we all go to our graves as slaves? So he uses this rhetorical question, and the rhetorical question is a question that he doesn't actually want them to answer, but makes them think about a point that he's making. So the point that he's making right here is he's comparing Caesar's leadership to that of a slave master. And he's telling them that Caesar was becoming a tyrant and that he's starting to treat them as if they were slaves. And that's one of the reasons that he killed him. And then he goes and he says that he was too ambitious. That he's egotistical and all of that. And he says that's why he killed him. Then he admits that there are tears, that he has wept over this decision because he really wants to show them that he truly cared about Caesar, that this decision that he made was a very difficult one, but that it had to be made because he loves his country and he refused to let his country fall into the wrong hands.
Brutus, no one. Then I have offended no one. I have done no more to Caesar than you will do to me. The reasons for his death are recorded in the Capitol. His glory has not been diminished where he earned it, nor have those offenses for which he was killed been exaggerated.
Antony enters with Caesar's body.
Here comes his body, mourned by Mark Antony, who, though he had no part in the killing, will benefit from his death, receiving a share in the commonwealth, as you all will. With these words I leave. Just as I killed my best friend for the good of Rome, so will I kill myself when my country requires my death.
Live, Brutus, live, live.
Let's carry him in triumph to his house. Let's build a statue of him near those of his ancestors. Let him become Caesar. Caesar's better qualities exist in Brutus, and we will crown him. We'll bring him to his house with shouts and celebration.
My countrymen.
Silence. Brutus speaks. Quiet there.
Good countrymen, let me leave alone. I want you to stay here with Antony to pay respects to Caesar's corpse and listen to Antony's speech about Caesar's glories, which he gives with our permission. I ask that none of you leave except myself until Antony has finished.
Okay, so at the end of his speech, all the people in the crowd, or most of the people in the crowd, agree with him. They say, that he hasn't offended anyone. They're telling, Brutus live. And they're wanting to actually put Brutus in the position that Caesar was in, because they say that Brutus has the qualities that make a good leader that Caesar didn't have. So he has won them over with this speech. Now we're going to see what happens after Antony gives his speech.
This exits.
Let's stay and hear Mark Antony. Let him mount the pulpit. We'll listen to him. Noble Antony, mount the podium.
For Brutus's sake, I am indebted to you.
He steps up the pulpit.
What does he say about Brutus? He says that for Brutus's sake, he finds himself indebted to us all. He better not speak badly of Brutus here. Caesar was a tyrant. That's for sure. We're lucky that Rome is rid of him. Quiet. Let's hear what Antony has to say.
So here again, they still are agreeing that Caesar was a tyrant. They're still agreeing with Brutus.
You gentle Romans.
All quiet there. Let him hear us.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, give me your...
So he uses the same entrance that Brutus uses. And he does this very specifically. He's trying to show them that he loves them, that he respects them, that they're his friends.
Attention. I have come here to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do is remembered after their deaths, but the good is often buried with them. It might as well be the same with Caesar. The noble Brutus told you that Caesar was ambitious. If that's true, it's a serious fault, and Caesar has paid seriously for it. With the permission of Brutus and the others, for Brutus is an honorable man, they are all honorable men, I have come here to speak at Caesar's funeral. He was my friend. He was faithful and just to me. But Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. He brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms brought wealth to the city. Is this the work of an ambitious man? When the poor cried, Caesar cried too. Ambition shouldn't keep those soft. Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. You all saw that on the Lupercal feast day, I offered him a king's crown 3 times, and he refused it 3 times. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and no question, Brutus, an honorable man. I am not here to disprove what Brutus has said, but to say what I know. You all loved him once, and not without reason. And what reason holds you back from mourning him now? Men have become brutish beasts and lost their reason. Bear with me. My heart is in the coffin there with Caesar, and I must pause until it returns to me.
Okay, so I want to start off and explain some of this, okay? So Antony starts the same way that Brutus does, by calling them his friends, his countrymen. And he says that he hasn't come to praise Caesar, but that he has come to bury him. So he says, I'm not here to talk really well about Caesar. I'm just here to give him the funeral that anyone deserves, especially that of a ruler. And he then goes to say that the evil that men do is remembered after their deaths, but the good is often buried with him. So he kind of, it would appear that he's saying that Caesar, had done some evil things right here. But he's also saying that while Caesar might have done some bad things, that they just might not remember the good things that he's done. So this is super important. All right, let's see. He then says, it might as well be the same with Caesar. And he says, the noble Brutus told you that he was ambitious. And he says that, that since Brutus is an honorable man, that, they must believe him that whenever he says that Caesar is ambitious. Okay? So he doesn't actually admit that he thinks Caesar was ambitious. But he says that since Brutus says it, I guess we have to believe it. And that's why he keeps repeating over and over again that, but Brutus is an honorable man, so what he says must be true, right? So he's making them think about the fact that, okay, so is it true that he actually was ambitious? And then he starts in his argument against the fact that Caesar is ambitious. So he's trying to prove that Caesar wasn't the ambitious person that Brutus says that he is. And so he says that he brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms brought wealth to the city. And so the fact that they brought wealth to the city and not to Caesar shows that he wasn't abusing his power, because he could have easily taken all the money for himself. But instead he puts it back into the economy. And so he says, how does this show that he's ambitious? He's not ambitious. If he was ambitious, he would have put the money in his own pocket. And then he says, when the poor cried, Caesar cried too. And he says, if he was ambitious, he wouldn't be so soft. Ambitious people aren't soft. They don't cry. But then he keeps going back to that idea, but Brutus is an honorable man, and he says he's ambitious, so I guess we have to believe him. So he's tearing apart Brutus's speech, and he's tearing apart Brutus's reasons for killing Caesar. He then goes to say that, I offered him the crown 3 times and he refused it each time. If he was ambitious, he would have accepted the crown. So how is he ambitious? Only because Brutus says he's ambitious? Well, that doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of what he's going through here.
There's a lot of sense in what he says. If you think about it correctly, Caesar has suffered a great wrong. Has he, sirs? I'm worried there will be someone worse to replace him. Did you hear, Antony? Caesar wouldn't take the crown. Therefore, it's certain he wasn't ambitious. If it turns out he wasn't, certain people are going to get it. Poor man. Antony's eyes are fiery red from crying. There isn't a nobler man than Antony in all of Rome. Now listen, he's going to speak again.
Okay, so now Antony has gotten them on his side. Okay, so they were just, all about Brutus and believe Brutus. But now they're starting to believe Antony.
Only yesterday the word of Caesar might have stood against the world. Now he lies there worth nothing, and no one is so humble as to show him respect. Oh, sirs, if I stirred your hearts and minds to mutiny and rage, I would offend Brutus and Cassius, who you all are honorable men. I will not do them wrong. I would rather wrong the dead and wrong myself and you than wrong such honorable men. But here's a paper with Caesar's seal on it. I found it in his room. It's his will. If you could only hear this testament, which, excuse me, I don't intend to read aloud, you would kiss dead Caesar's wounds and dip your handkerchiefs in his sacred blood and beg for a lock of his hair to remember him by. And when you died, you would mention the handkerchief or the hair in your will, bequeathing it to your heirs like a rich legacy.
We want to hear the will. Read it, Mark Antony.
The will.
We want to hear Caesar's will.
Be patient, gentle friends. I must not read it. It isn't proper for you to know how much Caesar loved you. You aren't wood, you aren't stones, you're men. And being men, the contents of Caesar's will would enrage you. It's better that you don't know you're his heirs. And if you knew, just imagine what would come of it.
So Antony is saying that he has Caesar's will. Now, we don't actually know if it's really Caesar's will or if he's just using a piece of paper to make them mad. But he's saying that if you knew what was in this will, you would be so mad at the people that have killed him. You would think they had done a terrible wrong. And so because of that, I can't read it to you. So now everybody's starting to kind of get the picture here.
Read the will. We want to hear it, Antony. You have to read us the will. Caesar's will.
Will you be patient? Will you wait a while? I've said too much in telling you of it. I'm afraid that I wrong the honorable men whose daggers have stabbed Caesar.
They were traitors. Honorable men.
The will.
The testament. They were villains, murderers. The will. Read the will.
You force me to read the will, then? Then make a circle around Caesar's corpse, and let me show you the man who made this will. Shall I come down? Will you let me?
Come down. Descend. We'll let you.
Antony descends from the pulpit.
Make a circle. Stand around him. Stand away from the hearse. Stand away from the body. Make room for Antony. Most noble Antony.
No, don't press up against me. Stand further away.
Stand back. Give him room.
If you have tears, prepare to shed them now. You all know this cloak. I remember the first time Caesar ever put it on. It was a summer's evening. He was in his tent. It was the day he overcame the Nervi warriors. Look, here's where Cassius's dagger pierced it. See the wound that Casca made? Through this hole, beloved Brutus stabbed. And when he pulled out its cursed dagger, see how Caesar's blood came with it, as if rushing out of a door to see if it was really Brutus who was knocking so rudely. For Brutus, as you know, was Caesar's angel. The gods know how dearly Caesar loved him. This was the most unkind cut of all. But when the noble Caesar saw him stab, he understood his beloved Brutus's ingratitude. It was stronger than the violence of the traitors, and it defeated him, bursting his mighty heart.
So he has just unraveled everything that Brutus has said. He has just made everyone turn against Brutus because he reminds them that Caesar absolutely loved Brutus and that it's what Brutus did. It's Brutus's stab that killed Caesar because it broke his heart.
And at the base of Pompey's statue, with his cloak covering his face, which was dripping with the blood the whole time, great Caesar fell. Oh, what a fall it was, my countrymen! And you and I and all of us fell down while bloody treason triumphed. Oh, now you weep, and I sense that you feel pity.
These are gracious tears, but if it overwhelms you to look at Caesar's wounded cloak, how you will feel, kind men, now. Look at this. Here is the man, scarred, as you can see, by traitors. He lifts up Caesar's cloak. All right, so this is the end, and he ends up at the very end calling them traitors. So he did directly go against what Brutus said, and he ends up turning all of the people against Brutus and the conspirators, okay, with his really long speech. So Cassius was very right in, trying to deny Antony the opportunity to speak at the funeral. Cassius knew that if Antony spoke, that he would turn the entire Roman, people against the conspirators. And he has done so. So, they should have killed Antony, like Cassius said for them to do. All right, so we have finished Act 3, Scene 2. Don't forget to do your character journal entry tonight and answer the rest of the reading questions.